Hello and welcome to another episode of the Plus 63 HP podcast. I'm one of your hosts, John Clemente. Alongside with me are there, two of my bestest best friend. I'm gonna start with the person on your screen left. CHUBAX, how are you doing?
What's up? Good. Good weekend. A little restful, but about to be back to stress tomorrow.
More
But happy to be
activity
here.
right in the middle of your screen, all the way from the West Coast, waking up early on a weekend for us. It's Arnie. Arnie, how are you doing?
Doing good. Busy, busy weekend.
We are all busy, but we are happy that you guys are joining us again. This is Plus 63 HP. We are a stable of podcasts where we have this show, the review show, where we deep dive into either a TV series or movie of the week, give you our opinions, grade them for you so you have a little bit more of information whether you should watch it yourself or not. We also have a D&D show, like a couple of middle-aged guys is doing their very, very first campaign. It's been running for a couple of years now. Super duper fun. Those episodes or those sessions are recorded, uploaded to the YouTube and the podcasting networks for your pleasure, so you can join us in that adventure as well. We also have a weekly reacts show where we have a curated lists of videos, featurettes, trailers for content that's coming down the pipeline. We give it a plus or minus whether we're hyped for it or not, so that you guys can be informed about upcoming content as well. Occasionally, whenever Chubax and our other bestest best friend RJ has time, they spun off a second uh D&D campaign where they're bad guys, and those usually drop intermittently as well, so you'll have a lot of content for your viewing and listening pleasure. Don't forget to like and subscribe our channel. It's youtube.com/plus 63HP. We are on all of the social networks. Just search or search our handle at plus 63HP. And if you don't want to watch this video on demand, you just want to listen to us in the background while you're working, just search plus 63HP on your favorite podcasting app of choice. We actually prefer Amazon, Apple, and Spotify. Housekeeping done. This episode of the plus 63HP Reviews Edition is about one of the more accessible, cool movies that you might want to watch as well. We are discussing Richard Linklater's The Hitman that came out on Netflix. So whenever you have time, just like pop it open. Um, it's going to be a fun movie. And as per usual, before we deep dive into the plot, synopsis, and what we thought about the movie, we're going to go around the table for our non-spoilery review about the movie. I'll start with you, Arnie. What did you think, non-spoilery, about The Hitman?
Well, I was thinking of a different Hitman movie, but pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, pleasantly surprised. Chubax?
I was pleasantly a little disappointed. How was it doing?
Oh, wow. Pleasantly surprised?
Not
Pleasantly
pleasantly. Surprised. It surprised. I was surprised,
surprisingly disappointed.
disappointed.
Okay.
A little disappointed. Not disappointed. Not a lot disappointed though.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. Right. I did not have any expectations coming in on what it was. I did have from the trailers. It was nice that very, very early in the movie we'll figure out that it's not the simple I'm a hitman with plenty other costumes. So it was kind of like a little bit more of subversion of expectations about the movie. But I am on Arnie's camp here. I really, really enjoyed the movie. Super fun. It's not too long. It's not even 2 hours. So it was kind of like a fun jaunt with very, very attractive people on screen. Um, so we'll dive into the synopsis bit by bit, but before that, a little bit of stats on the movie. Again, directed by Richard Linklater. He is famous. He's
Mhm.
famous for the Before trilogy, Before
The
Sunset,
before,
Before
yeah.
Sunrise, and Before Midnight. Also,
Boys or
Boyhood.
Boyhood? Yeah, Boyhood,
Yep.
yeah.
So he has a lot in his filmography, like the animated video Apollo 10 and a half, Space Age Childhood, um, Bernie, Scanner Darkly. So there's a lot of like School of Rock too, which is surprising that I didn't realize that he wrote and directed that. He directed that, he didn't write it, but um, he has a lot of very character driven movies. And then again, he's famous for the Before series and Boyhood because those are movies that are shot 10, 15 across 10, 15 years. So it's kind of like amazing to see how the characters grow. So that's one of his things. Like he's really, really good with movies with complex but relatable characters. So again, this was surprisingly written by Richard Linklater and Glenn Powell, the star of the show.
Hmm.
The screenplay was theirs. It is based out of a real person, a book, Hitman by Skip Hollandsworth, because the Gary Johnson character is a real person. They did some creative choices, decisions to make it a little bit more entertaining, but there was a dude that did exactly the same thing that they were doing, and he was Gary Johnson. Uh, Produced by not only Linklater and Powell, but also Jason Bateman. So Jason Bateman has has a hand in these little quirky comedies, black comedies as well. So it's good that he kind of provided some funding for this movie. And stars are pretty slim. So we have Glenn Powell, my ex-girlfriend Adria Arjona, right?
Mhm.
We have Austin Emilio, one of the other people in the van, but also Retta. Retta, famous for Parks and Recreation, so I love her as well. Uh, Again, it was first released in September of 2023 in the Venice Film Festival, but it hit Netflix on May 24. So this is kind of like a spring release, ushering in the warm seasons, kind of cool. Um, and runtime of the movie is 115 minutes, so not even 2 hours. I want a guess on how much did you think this movie costs,
It
Chubax?
seems cheap. I don't
50
know.
million.
Yeah, I'm around that also.
15, 15. I would have thought the same, like maybe 20,
Mm.
maximum 40. The budget of the movie was $8.8 million,
Damn,
Yeah,
that's
not
not
right?
bad.
yeah,
That's
not
not
so bad.
bad. It only had a box office of 3.4 million. That's pretty much standard because this is
It's
a
on
Netflix
Netflix.
release or produced on Netflix. But I guess this was, and for all intents and purposes, it's such an efficient movie. And I guess Glenn Powell, both writing, producing, and starring in it, he was able to like pay himself not an obscene amount because some movies the star is already 10 million bucks. So this was pretty good. So without further ado, we're just gonna the plot is very simple. So Gary Johnson, played by Glenn Powell, is a mild-mannered psychology and philosophy professor at a university in New Orleans. So that's I think a pretty important part. The funny thing is, you are a full-time professor at a university, but you also work as a consultant or as an assistant for the NOPD, like the New Orleans Police Department. So he initially assists in undercover sting operations where they do have a established fake hitman, Jasper, and he gets solicited for murder for hire, and then they have to kind of record the people asking or soliciting for this particular service, admitting to and committing the actual act of paying for that person, and essentially entrapping them in murder for hire gigs. Unfortunately, Jasper, who is a wild man, gets suspended. What's listed here is police brutality, but he just seems like an ass. And then they needed to have somebody step into the Jasper role. Gary was the one that kind of, I think years of assisting in the van, providing research, et cetera, uh, made him like the best candidate to do so. But After a few tries, like he quickly finds himself being like a natural in this. Like I guess it's
Mhm.
being a both psychology and philosophy
Mhm.
professor. He had a little bit more insight to the mind of people. Um, and then he kind of like starts to develop different personas about uh whenever they go through a sting. So something that is not necessarily clear is like, or not necessarily vocalized, this is the more show not tell, is
Mhm.
he develops a character whenever he researches their target. So if they get reached out by a person, that person gets researched by Gary so that he can develop a character that fits them. So, a European gangster, like a hillbilly,
Mhm.
multiple different characters. And then after a bunch of different tryouts, a bunch of different arrests, um, he's been reached out by Audrey Arjona's character Madison
Arjona.
to Arjona.
Mhm.
Okay, Audrey Arjona, um, his character Madison, who is trying to have her abusive husband killed. So weirdly, Gary, who is super timid, not cool, even his students make fun of him, develops this character Ron, who is not only like extremely confident, extremely sexy, extremely strong. So when they connected, Gary, instead of entrapping Madison, right, which was supposed to need to do, guides Madison away from being arrested, gives her a suggestion to just use the money that he was supposed to pay Ron, Gary's new character, as a way to restart her life. And then they bump into each other after, or he got invited at a puppy adoption
Mhm.
session. And then again, Gary, playing as Ron, develops a sexual relationship with Madison without revealing his real identity. So Ron actually was the one that has had, developed a relationship with Madison. So he keeps on kind of um, playing the role as the cool and confident Gary. And then it was weird because Madison was the one who wanted to do the relationship super no strings,
Mhm.
because of quote unquote Ron's relation profession. Madison can never ask any question. Madison can never go to Gary's apartment. They just literally meet at Madison's house, date, bang, and that's it. All right. One night after clubbing, Gary and Madison bumps into the ex, and then they kind of get into a scuffle together. Also, the same night, Jasper bumps into, you know, Gary playing Ron with Madison, who's already starting to get suspicious on why he's still connecting with perps or their targets. Um, Now, we realize, a bunch of super cool, super sexy sex scenes later. Um, we see that Madison's husband was found dead, initially thought of as a drug bust, or like a drug buy gone wrong because Madison's ex had some issues with drugs. But now Gary's team kind of is a little bit more suspicious, that's because like, yo, Gary, you let this go. Look what had happened. It doesn't seem like any foul play is afoot, but they'll have to investigate a little bit further. Gary, playing as Ron, confronts Madison about what has happened, and then Madison did immediately, which is surprising as well, confess to the murder because like he was threatening her. And this is also surprisingly where Gary admits that he was not Ron, but he was Gary playing to be a hitman. And then
Was he threatening her, or she
No,
just? I
say
think she just said, "You
he
told me
just
she was gonna kill me."
Yeah, the
That's it.
ex-husband
Oh yeah,
wanted to hire a
Yeah,
hitman
but
to kill
he
her.
wasn't like
I
in a, it wasn't in this crime of passion. It was premeditated.
good call. A huge plot that I missed in my synopsis is, you know, Gary was still doing his job, playing the fake hitman, and one of the people that solicited his services was Madison's ex-husband, right? So, that's where Gary playing Ron also taught Madison how to use a gun, what type of gun to use, et
Mhm.
cetera, how to get away with it. So that kind of like plugs in. But Madison confessing to the murder and Gary revealing his true identity to Madison. Gary gets kicked out. Gary returns to the police, and then they start increasing investigation with Madison because the police has found out that uh, Ray, Madison's ex-husband, has an increased insurance policy right before his death.
Mhm.
So that just kind of like raises red flags on why would anybody want to kill Ray because of that increased insurance policy. Jasper, one of the police brutality guy, part of the people in the van that's working Nula, pretty kind of like was already
Some people
suspicious of
say.
Gary and Madison's relationship, but apparently he's been just like following them for a while, and knew about this relationship, and not only kind of has this over them, but he was also jealous of how Gary took his job. So uh Jasper threatens Gary and Madison about what he knew. So essentially what happens is, you know,
Blackmail. Yeah.
they're gonna Jasper's gonna blackmail Gary and Madison, um, but he'll get a cut of whatever they get from the insurance, or gets all. A cool part about this is prior to Jasper springing the blackmail on Gary and Madison, there was a nice little um, no video surveillance, just audio surveillance of Ron speaking with Madison, trying to get Madison to confess about the murder. But there was like a double, triple layer here because there's
Mhm.
no video, so it's only audio. They're speaking one thing, but they're talking via text about the other, about,
Mhm.
admitting to the romance, admitting to what had happened, but also kind of like letting people know that, Madison, with the direction of Gary, to never mention that she did it, and also kind of like clear up all of the clues that the police have been gathering with them. But in the end, um, when Jasper was confronting Gary now and Madison, Madison kind of spiked Jasper's beer so that he becomes a little bit incapacitated. And then
Unconscious.
Gary, which is surprising for
Mhm.
me, um, like suffocates him with a plastic bag. So it's kind of
Mhm.
like, no struggle, no lesser traces of evidence. So it's just kind of like knowing Jasper's history, it's like, oh, it might be just like a drug overdose or something bad has happened, like him suffocating himself. So that's essentially how both Madison and Gary gets connected again by the murder of a dirty cop. Um, and then the story jumps several years later, which is kind of cool, where we see now Gary and Madison happily married with children. We're seeing how Gary has, despite allusions to it earlier in the movie, how people never change, and like etc. Gary did become hot and cool, and now is happily married with not only somebody that he is super attractive and super hots for him as well, but also trauma bonded in the murder and the the racket that they did with the insurance about Madison's ex-husband. So that is the Hitman. We go to you, Chubax. Thoughts, uh, favorite parts,
So
favorite character, Hmm.
so for
things that you didn't
me,
like.
yeah, I just I really like the trailer and I love everybody involved. So I was expect a little, and the reviews were all high. So I was expecting a little better, but I don't know. It was just somewhere in the middle for me because it wasn't that funny. Like there were some funny parts, like mostly when he was dressed as somebody for the hitman, but it wasn't really funny. It wasn't really dark, but it played in the middle. So I don't know. Just like this Gary, and then so he's okay because he had the character arc, and I like that. It's different than the normal arc where, uh, but he went from like kind of embodying his persona and becoming it in a sense, changing, I guess, yeah, but it was like a different take on it, so I appreciated it. But like these are not good people.
Yeah,
The girl just straight out murdered her husband. I mean, I know the
that was gonna
bad.
murder her. True.
Yeah, sure, it's true, but it's still premeditated. Like she planned it. She bought the drugs. She she spiked him and then she shot him. I think, right? Yeah, he was found
Uh-huh.
shot in the head or something.
Mhm.
So that just to be able to do that, you need to be a little bit sociopathic or something. And then the last scene or
Because she's hot.
the
Yeah,
climax where they did it to Jasper. That's also not a good a good somebody good does. So it's like,
no,
yeah, I was just like, I mean, I don't know. It's just like it didn't hit for me in that sense. Like I'm supposed to be rooting for this guy who's gonna murder of course, he's a bad police guy, but and it's like, do I cheer for that or I don't know. And then like, oh, it was just a little off. Just didn't really vibe with me. Everything will look good. The scenes were shot well. All again, the highlight for me was the personas of the different hitmen. I also kind of got the point of the entrapment. Like
hmm
I would have, if I was like a lawmaker or the judge or the cops, like I'd agree. I'd let them do this entrapment, but I'd want the hitman to give second, third chances to for them to like first discourage this. But if they're forceful, then that's when you don't lean into
I
it
think.
and make them more
Oh well, I
more.
do think that they were giving them a chance, and then again, it's not only like they need to verbally confirm that they are
I know,
like
but
of sound
just the
mind
fact
and
that
pay.
Gary no, but the fact that Gary is embodying the persona that will make them
That's
confess is already like entrapment in a sense. So if I was like in the law business, like fine, you can do this because they might find somebody else and get this thing done. So we need to, if they really into it, they can. We need to do something, but maybe we can go there and maybe that was like, oh, we gotta find maybe find another way because this is the last resort because it's dangerous or maybe like I can get caught. So are you really sure? And then that's when you catch him if they're because like what he did with the girl, he dissuaded
yep,
her, right?
yep.
How
hmm
many of those could he have done to the other people? So
That's true.
uh, so that was just like where it was a little in the middle for me. But everything else was like the hot. She was both of them were hot, not just Adriana. I mean, Glenn Powell was also hot, and yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah. I'll do first before I pass to Arnie. I'm you're right. I think there is a huge bias against not thinking about how dark this is or how horrible the people are in the movie just because it's Glenn Powell and Adria Arjona. Like I think the sex scenes kind of like wash away all of the
Mm.
like you really, really want to root for them. Which I think is another testament on the viewers themselves, because you're right, like yeah, now it's not, we can't really do it justice in a synopsis, but when you watch a movie, there's a lot of character driven dialogue around lessons around humanity, what is good and bad, philosophy, how people change, how people grow up. Um, during in between the cool parts, like when Gary's just teaching philosophy, a lot of nuggets of wisdoms are being there. Even just Gary still being best friends with his ex-wife. It shows like how weird, timid, and not powerful he is, and he grew to become really, really powerful too. So there are a lot of those things kind of like let you know that people are layered, people are complex. We don't know who, like these people that are soliciting hitmen, some of them are just horrible people, just killing people just because of greed or money. But some
Mhm.
people are actually like, have reasons. Like, Madison, there was a character there where it's like the wife is slowly killing him. So it's like, it's there's a lot of people have a lot of reasons why they can do so many ill stuff like this. And that's right, that's why, even in the court, some people uh get off or doesn't get charged because
Mhm.
they have a good lawyer saying that this was entrapment and whatever. But sometimes we do save lives, so it's like it's such a complex thing on what they're doing. And we watch that all the way because we have two super hot people on the screen, which is an indictment to us. But I really enjoyed this movie because I did not want to watch a extremely layered movie, even though that this was extremely layered. In the end, it was a little funny, super sexy, and the characters that we wanted to have a happy ending had a happy ending that was very, very clear that was a happy ending.
Mhm.
And once the movie ended, I was also extremely surprised. Like, yeah, this was based out of a real Gary Johnson, everything except the murder. That was super funny for me. So that's
Or
why
is
I
it?
enjoyed it. Right.
Or is
Or
it?
is it? Right. So it's like, the funny thing is like, oh, this is Gary Johnson. This is all of his characters. He's a true person. Everything except the murder is true. So that's super fun. I really did enjoy it. But again, I also will admit it is one of those I just want to sit down, open your eyes kind of movie. A little funny, and I want everybody that I like to have a happy ending, and they did, and they did that extra step of, what? How many years later, they have a house, they're cool, and then now they have to um now they have to like explain to their kids how they met. So that's funny too. So Arnie,
Well, like I said, I was expecting a different Hitman movie. I was expecting actually Agent 47. And then speaking
Okay,
of
you didn't see
disguises
that.
and
You didn't see the
characters,
trial. I the trailer.
I kind of forgot the
Yeah.
trailer. I'm sure we reacted to it, but I was like, oh, okay, so it's not Agent 47. So okay, but hey, it's Bix, so why not? Um, but my favorite scene in that movie. So of course we talked about that he was a teacher in like a community college or something like that. So he was teaching about philosophy, like about maximizing life and blah blah blah. And then his students were like, "Well, yeah, this is coming from somebody who drives a Civic or something like that." So we're just kind of like they're mocking him, like, "Oh yeah, you're just reading off a book." And then fast forward to when he became merging into more of Ron. Like one of the girls were like, oh, "When did our professor became
it's
hot?" And I'm like, "Oh," so it's kind of like so. But anyways, like, and the thing is, like, even the relationship with the ex-wife, like she said, like, well, you're just too set in your ways, but they're like, but almost like saying, oh, but you're a great guy, but you're just like, you know, like just like all these hobbies of yours or whatever is like, it's not like if he did some change a little bit, he will find somebody that would love him and something like that. Like, oh, okay, something to think about. But yeah, I mean, and of course, when he started having this life as Ron, which starts to basically mix into his real life, he realizes that yeah, he needed to take a little bit of risks and a little bit of murder, but other than that, he'll be fine. But yeah, but and also like the scene where in the club, so they were dancing, right? And then of course her ex-husband recognizes her, and even though like
And she brought
and I,
him there
and she brought him there. It's because
so
that's
that
the
the
club.
so that the ex-husband would see them.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, but you also
That's
like
how fucked up she
Yeah, was that
is.
confirmed though? I thought that
Yes,
was.
they were in the argument. She kind of, he. That's what he was asking, and she kind of
yeah.
like,
I mean,
she kind of admitted to it.
no, it's kind of like the Olivia Rodrigo song. They're just like everything's recycled. No, yeah, yeah. I bring all my exes here, or bring my all my girls here. It's just kind of like that. But of course, the reaction that she was hoping that ex-husband would do, he did, and worse, because he kind of like we've seen this with a lot of men, unfortunately, that they're very possessive. That even though it's an ex or something like that, they feel compelled to show ownership or something like that. So for me, like when when eventually when the story progressed to him trying to get her killed, and then even telling the hitman, oh yeah, if you kill the current boyfriend too, that's fine with me. And I'm like, huh.
Mm.
So when he was eventually killed, I was like, oh, okay, comeuppance. Uh, it's a little clean because the thing is, at least in the concept of the story or in the parameters of the story, that's the only way for two of them to have a happy ending is that insurance money, and
Mm.
then you take out not really a competition, but you take out a, a complication of the story or of the relationship, right? And I don't know. This is a long time ago, but there's somebody has like you know being used as to make somebody else jealous. I'm like, no, I'm not dealing with that. You guys deal with your own games. I'm out. You're not that hot or something like that. But even then, it's just like, uh, you know, at least in the context of fiction, yeah, it makes sense. What else? But yeah, I mean, even like the whole "How I Met Your Mother" joke came up too, like the
Mm.
whole we met in for pie or something like that. That
Yeah.
was, that was, that was
Paradise Diner, right?
Paradise Diner, and all pie is good pie. So it's like but yeah, it's for me uh, like when you said it was like only $8 million, not bad, and considering it.
8.8. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
think
considering that it never really had a theater release or much publicized theater release, and they make what almost half the money back, and then of course the viewership or something like that. That's not too bad.
imagine this is 8 million bucks, and then fucking Zack Snyder's two movies is 400 million. Fuck that shit.
I know, right? Yeah, yeah. And the thing is too, like it shows. I mean, just Glenn Powell. I don't know if I've seen any Glenn Powell movies before this one.
You haven't
I
seen
thought he was like
Maverick?
Top Gun.
who's who?
Top,
Top
Maverick?
Gun.
you haven't seen Top
Oh,
Gun
I haven't
Maverick?
seen. I haven't seen. I
Oh
haven't
my
seen
god.
Top Gun. Yeah,
I'm gonna watch it again right now.
yeah. Yeah. But basically, when I first saw him as the Ron character, like like a Matthew McConaughey type character or Sawyer from Lost, right? So you know, made him believable and all that stuff. Um, like, and then of course the female lead, Biggs. I mean, come on. Even Cassian Andor risks everything for her, so I could see it.
No. Well, I now that's our opinions. Let's do our ratings and final goodbyes. Yeah, we'll start back with you, Arnie.
Hmm. I would rate it 8.
Mhm.
because 6 of that is already Bix, and then 2 is the movie.
The
So
movie.
that's 8 out of 10.
Yeah. I'm torn because it's a 7 movie, but
Mhm.
it's so hot
Yeah.
that I have to make it an 8. So
So
and it's just fun. It's fun.
it's a fun movie without being like, because got so spoiled with all these plot twists and all that stuff. It's just like it's very straightforward. No plot twists.
That's a very 80s, early
Hmm.
90s movie with Richard
Yeah.
Linklater. So I really, now I'm kind of, I've never been a big fan. I've seen Boyhood and I never really, in my head, I was looking at it's like so much effort for just one movie, like shooting it
Mhm.
over across 20 years. That's just, but now that I'm older, all of this effort is kind of like coming out. And I love
Yeah.
these, like, look at how many characters Glenn Powell had to do.
Hmm.
But this is his movie. So, Chabas?
Yeah.
I'll go with the 6 for me.
Hmm.
Just didn't
Not
vibe
bad.
with it.
Yeah.
I mean, still good in our thing.
Yeah.
I
Again,
mean,
it really depends on your mood and what you're looking for. This is kind of like this is packaged as a light movie, but it's not necessarily a light
yeah.
movie with the themes.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. And this is the whole point of streaming content or streaming movies. It's like very uh low
barrier.
low barrier or low investment, and then high reward
Yeah.
or reward.
Yeah, that's
Because
good.
will I pay, how much is the ticket now? Like, 10, or no, actually it's $20 now.
Yeah,
Would
almost
I
20.
would I pay $20 to go to the theater, get some babysitter, pay parking, popcorn, yada 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 for this? No. I mean, I mean, I only consider going to the movies for blockbuster movies. Like, call me non-film buff, but it is what it is, right? Like, if I had time for Dune in the movie theaters, yeah, sure, I would pay money for that in the movie theater. I'll even buy the stupid bucket for that. But for this movie, hey, you just turn on Netflix on a lazy afternoon. It's a good time. So that's what, I guess hopefully the writers and producers are trying to figure things out, that when to even invest on theatrical release or just direct to streaming, because we've had this thing before, that the direct to video industry, but those are just meant to be crappy movies, right? Or just your typical cartoons. But now with everybody's more into the streaming services, we could at least give quality movies instead of just putting them in the theater and risk losing money, right? Or just put them in streaming. So
Yeah.
so for me, that's like, it's a perfect example, right?
Yeah, this is, I mean, again, I still believe that we limit the 250, $300 million movies and make 10,
Yeah,
$25 million movies.
yeah.
But the thing is, like, there's not a lot of this out and about. So it's good that we were able to get one. But with that, we have our ratings. Um, we have a very fun and interesting movie coming that we're going to be discussing next week since it's out on digital. So our next week's assignment is Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. I
Oh,
actually have seen that twice in the theaters. Enjoyed it both times. Looking forward to what you guys think about it. But final goodbyes, Chubax.
Yeah, we'll watch. We'll also have Fury Acolyte of 5 and 6.
Oh yeah, Acolyte as well. All right.
Oh,
oh
six
yeah.
and
So
seven pala. 6 and 7.
where is Acolyte? I mean, not Acolyte. Furiosa. Is it a Max or
Yeah,
Max.
on Max.
Max?
I don't.
Yeah.
Is it
All
out on
right.
Max?
Max or Prime Video.
Okay. So it's easy access.
I
Okay,
don't
cool.
think. I don't think it's streaming it anywhere.
I don't.
You have
Well,
to.
yeah.
It's
Oh yeah.
on. It's on digital lang.
Digital.
Yeah,
Digital lang. Oh,
the user site.
okay. We'll use our fluffy
Yeah, Sydney
fluffy
Sweeney was caught watching
fluffy.
on that site.
Who?
Sydney Sweeney.
My ex
Oh
girlfriend.
yeah,
Yeah, she was watching Law and Order SVU on that site.
on that site.
Yeah,
Oh,
and people were like, "You go, girl." Too many streamers shit now.
That's good. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's also a message, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay, cool. Yeah. Are we doing a goodbyes? Right?
Goodbye.
That's it.
Bye.
Right.
Deuces.
Bye bye.
See you next week, guys. Bye.